set free. You want to liberate your mind, controlling secrets, yet you will find the need to be set free. And the Lord says, captives be free, just come to me. I'll break those chains that hold you down.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Heroes of Hope. We're so glad you tuned in with us today. We're here to bring this show, and we've said it so many times already, but you know this show has been designed literally to bring together different organizations, individual people, churches, public officials, different people that are literally addressing the drug epidemic here in Staten Island. So we're excited today because we have a very special guest and someone that's come into my life, and we're excited about working together and making a difference here in Staten Island. And his name is Boyd Melson. And I just want to greet him and say thank you for coming, first of all. I think that would be...
Pastor Joe, thank you for having me.
I greatly appreciate you coming. I know your schedule is insane sometimes.
Sincerely, this is what... No, everything takes second to this. So other people, when they say to me, I know your schedule is insane, I said, I know I'm helping do my part for the opiate fight on the island.
Good.
That's why. So this is why.
I'm glad to hear that.
This is what takes me from other things, which is where I want to be, right here in this fight.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people that are out there right now watching the show, and they're probably wondering, well, who is Boyd Melson? And so I want to give you a few minutes just to really emphasize to them or explain to them, you know, who you are, what you've been, you know, what you've been able to accomplish in your life and things like that before we get into anything about this opioid drug epidemic and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So I grew up in Brooklyn on Fort Hamilton Army Base. My father retired 26 years in the military, serving in the Army, and 6 years in the Navy of those 26. My mother served for 3 years in the United States Army. My sister, 17 years, just was medically retired, deployed twice to the Middle East. She was a JAG officer, a lawyer in the Army. My brother was a medic in the Army, and then he became an officer in the Public Health Service. That's my nuclear family, and we have over 60 years of combined service in our armed forces, in our nation's armed forces. So I grew up on Fort Hamilton Army Base, and when you're living there and your father's stationed there, to get your medical care, you have to go to a TRICARE facility. So my TRICARE facility was Bailey Seton Hospital. So I used to live at Bailey Seton Hospital because I had horrible allergies growing up. So I would have to go in 3rd grade once a week to get my shots over from Brooklyn on over to Bailey Seton and do it over and over. I've been hospitalized there when I was in a car accident. So some of my earliest memories in life were being here in the hospital on Staten Island. And then I had a lot of childhood friends that were parents were in the Coast Guard, and then they were stationed at Fort Wadsworth. So I used to routinely come on over here and come visit. Matter of fact, one of the first memories I have of the island is asking my uncle, how come we have to pay $4.50 every time you go over this bridge? I'm like 7 years old, not understanding. And that's a whole separate right I have.
And I wish it was still $4.50.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's the number I always started back at. Yeah. And so I went to West Point. I graduated in 2003. I was commissioned May 31st, 2003 as a field artillery officer. However, I learned I had a skill set at West Point. So at the academies, all military, all freshmen have to take plebes, have to take a boxing class. It's mandatory. I took it, and that changed the course of my life. I started developing a skill set. I entered a tournament open to see who the best cadets at West Point were, and I knocked out the captain of the team when I was a freshman. And then I joined the collegiate team the next year and won the collegiate national championship. And then when I graduated, I found out about a program the Army has that you can earn acceptance into because the Army wants its athletes at the top of the stage, in the world stage. And so they set a program aside if you're qualified, and I ended up earning a position there. And we fast forward, I was an alternate for the 2008 Olympic team. During that time, I fell in love with while I was in West Point, I fell in love with a young woman named Kristen Zaccanino, and Kristen broke her neck when she was 10 years old. And we were together for 6 years, and after a year of being with her, I promised her I'd never give up on helping her walk again for the rest of my life. And that promise led me to becoming a professional boxer for the sole purpose of donating everything in the ring that I earned to a pending clinical trial that one of Christopher Reeve's advisors is looking to bring here to the United States this year, which we should have FDA approval for in October. My first boxing purse was $1,500, and now Kristen and I created our own nonprofit, Team Fight to Walk, and we raised over $400,000. I had some of the greatest 6 years of my life was living in an Italian household. Because whenever I'd come home from leave, I'd stay at her place, and they're Calabrian, and it was the hardest thing is trying to make weight when you're a fighter and you're in an Italian household. I remember I said,
Well, bring it down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Not to
once-
gain it, to
no,
lose it.
to lose it. So I remember I used to just always open the fridge and stare at the food knowing I couldn't eat
Yeah,
it. So
you see the ricotta cheese. and then-
everything.
What should I
and
say,
so
ricotta?
and then, why am I going blank on the name? The little sliced pepperoni. Sliced
Pepperoni?
But it's not. It's an Italian name. I don't remember.
Braciole, there's different.
Oh,
ones.
right. It's not braciole, though.
Yeah.
So I remember opening the fridge
You
once.
got
and
different stuff. Gabagool, you got all kinds of different.
They used to have gabagool
yeah.
there often as well.
If you can't
That's what-
pronounce it, but it tastes good.
Then I was introduced to the 7 courses of fish.
Yeah.
And shrimp parmesan, which I
Yeah.
never had before.
That's
which
Christmas
is the
Eve.
best. Yep, absolutely.
Eve.
So I'd always come home on leave.
Christmas Eve and
stay.
Good Friday.
It was the best. I used to dress up as Santa Claus. I'd put the whole getup, come down, just to put her nephews on my lap, and the whole family would be together.
Yeah,
It was heaven. I did it 2 years in a row, and they suckered me. Except after the first year, I said, I'm not doing this again. And then the next year, Boyd would, I said, all right. So I did it, but I remember opening the fridge one day, and I was training. I had a big tournament coming up, but I was home on leave, and I'm looking in the fridge, and her mother, her last name's Zaccanino, so I call her Mama Zac. I said, hey, Mama Zac. She goes, oh, sweetheart, what are you looking for? Are you hungry? I said, yeah, but I can't eat anything. She said, oh, well, how about you have an apple? You can have an apple, right? And I said, Mama Zac, I can't eat anything right now. I can't put any of the water away. I can't eat anything. She goes, oh, well, how about a hamburger then? And I said, Mama Zac, if I said I can't eat an apple, what makes you think I can eat a hamburger? I have to lose so much
Hey,
weight.
that's an Italian family.
Oh
man.
my God, it was an ever.
You're getting skinny.
Every time, it was the hardest, and I love.
Yeah.
I've been to Sardinia to compete at the Six Nations Cup, and I had to cut weight the whole time I was there, except for the last night when I had the best galamad I ever had in my entire life.
Eat that after the tournament.
Well, it was the last night, and I was so sad that I knew I only had one night. After every night, I'd have to watch the food go
Yeah,
by.
yeah.
And then the funniest was in the morning when I was there, when I finally made weight, I wanted a big breakfast, like in America. We have these big breakfasts. So I get there, and the breakfast that they had, the
Like
continental.
yeah.
It was granola and croissants. I said, where's the food? I've been starving myself. Where's the food? So really, really neat experiences with that. My mother in Bay Ridge, she's in Bensonhurst, Dyker Heights, she's had a jewelry business for over 31 years.
Awesome.
So when I boxed, I ended up winning a WBC title. I won the WBC United States Junior Middleweight title, a 10-round fight, and donated what I earned from that. And then I came out of retirement recently, and I'm back in retirement, but for one purpose, and that was after learning about in the news, in the SI Advance, what was going on here with this opiate epidemic. And I remember the first time it was around May of last year. I read something in the Advance saying that there were 45 maybe deaths due to overdosing.
Well, we ended the year with 110 last year, and there's still 30 cases pending. So we don't know exactly where it's going to land, but it's definitely 110 or more in reference to overdose deaths last year, which was tremendously higher than 2015. And so we've been hitting it hard. But when you read the paper and you see, what's going on, and now that you've been here and you're around, around what's happening, what are your thoughts about what's happening with this drug epidemic in Staten Island?
The fact that everybody is on the same page as far as the awareness of it and it's killing us is a big plus. It's not being hidden any longer. It's not saying it's just one group or this demographic or this. You remember the movie, was it The Ring, where they said when someone on an island catches a cold, the whole island catches a cold? I think about that often, and that when it comes to this, and it's spreading. And it seems to an extent as if New York City, I mean, they're being hit too, but it's almost as if since there's natural geography separating us, that and like such as a bridge, not a bridge, but the river island around itself, the Hudson River along there, that they're fine leaving it contained. It's almost like it's quarantined over here, and it's not fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. These are still New York. Staten Island's made with New York City residents. New York City taxes should be taken care of. The budget. This is starting to turn into almost like an apocalyptic type of event for our country, an extinction level over time.
Yeah.
It's only getting worse, and people are dying. More deaths, and it's spreading quickly to everybody.
Per capita, when we look at the statistics in different boroughs, you think of it per capita, we do have the highest statistics. Um, but you got other places like the Bronx that has been devastated also in reference to the numbers. But Staten Island has been hit very, very hard. And so we're able to, address it. And like I said, like you said, in reference to unity, it's been tremendous. So I'm in agreement with you 100% in reference to that. We've been really focusing in on making a difference in every area. Everybody's been able to put aside whatever the differences are and step up and do what we got to do. This is our island. And what's even more attractive is that we've been literally setting the pace and being trailblazers in a lot of new areas, even in the political field, concerning things that have to get done here in Staten Island, and others in other boroughs are hearing about it. So it's making us better. You know what I mean? The suffering, the problem is making us better. So that's a good thing too, because after it's all said and done, there's a collaboration that's come together that is phenomenal. And so I'm excited about that. But what are you been able to touch? I know that you got different organizations, different things that you're actually doing to really impact young people's lives and stuff like that. Maybe you could share some of those
I
things.
sure can. I volunteer and travel to many, many schools, giving up my time. I'm a professional speaker, motivational speaker, and I go to the tough schools, the tougher schools, where they don't have support much. So maybe the ones where you have to go through a metal detector just to get in. And I speak, and I speak very hard. I'm a captain still in the Army Reserve, so I let that side of my personality come out a bit to try to, even if I can touch one, and I'm literally, even if it's just one.
To get their attention.
And what helps is when I walk in with this big championship belt, then all of a sudden they give reverence, and then it helps open the door for that. And that's the biggest happiness I had out of winning that belt, is how it allowed me to start helping others. It opened up, how it allowed me, but it opened up and increased my platform.
Right.
So we have these boxing clinics going on right now on the island at DeMarco's Boxing Gym. We were sharing it between Rustam's and DeMarco's, but this is going to be the last weekend at Rustam's. We're just going to stay consolidated at DeMarco's. They're free for addicts on the island with the mantra, knock out addiction. We're having challenges. People just aren't showing up. I've been doing this since February every weekend, and and I'm still there, and the people that volunteer the time at the gyms, but people aren't showing up, and they're free. We're trying to get them to get their endorphins going and let their endorphins excite their body instead of having to use something else, another method. And we want that to become the community. You're accepted in a box. Everyone's accepted. It's family in a boxing gym. The kid inside of you comes out.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that every weekend, and on this island right now, this consensus that I see of the church is coming together, and that's the way to go. God leading the way with that. That's the way to go. So the church is taking it upon them. No, everybody has time on this island to listen to what's coming from the church. Everybody. So first giving your time, and then second learning about the plan and what's being done to help. And when we were at that meeting that we just had the other day, and what was it, the Hope?
Yeah, the Heroes of Hope.
Heroes of Hope.
We had a meeting there.
And how they, just something that began in January, how many people have qualified so that it can give them a second chance should they be getting, should they have an addiction or going through the legal system, and instead of going to jail, giving another chance.
Yeah. The Hope program, District Attorney's Office.
It's a big thing. They're not, and I say this, I've gone to a couple, I've been to Carl's house, and I sat in on an NA meeting there. I went to one of your meetings. I went to another church's, an AA meeting there. Very important for me to understand and listen. I mean, I have addiction throughout my family with alcoholism. So it's very important. I've grown up around that, but it's still important to understand. What's real in our minds is real. So I have to understand, in order the people I want to help, why they are facing what they are.
Right.
And the people I want to help themselves.
Right.
Better yet to say.
How you can help them help
Correct.
themselves. Yeah.
So this whole idea of doing a drug making you a criminal is the same as you saying if I get the flu, I'm a criminal. Now, if you say, yeah, but you chose to do the drug, or you were young, well, I can get the flu because I chose to play in the rain, and I get the flu. But it's sick. You're hurt. You're harming your life. And if you speak to anybody, just about anybody, and you get them to open up and be honest, you'll see they're the farthest thing from a criminal because of their addiction. If they happen to be a criminal for other reasons, but I'm talking about because of this,
Right.
and dealing
Because
with drugs.
of the addiction.
Agreed.
So the addiction itself is making them do things that they don't really necessarily.
I agree. So listen, I wanted to share. I just got off the phone with one of the greatest NBA shooters of all time. I was speaking with him yesterday, Rex Chapman. I don't know if you ever heard of Rex.
Rex Chapman.
If you play NBA Jams, the first basketball, you do the flip and dunk.
Okay.
He was one of the players on the Heat in the game, and then when he played for Phoenix, he hit some unbelievable buzzer beaters in the playoffs to advance them. This is maybe the late 90s or early 2000s.
Okay.
So it was released in the news. He talked about his opiate addiction that he had had. And because of multiple surgeries back to back while he was playing, which I suffered from myself when I was on active duty, 2 different occasions, for 6 or 7 months straight, I was recovering because I had surgery and surgery, and then a couple of years, and another surgery and a surgery, and being on Percocet and Vicodin, my body became addicted to it, and it was a nightmare, and it significantly
get off of it,
negatively impacted my life. And you know what's funny? I remember the day when I made the decision. Somebody said a word about something, used the word a servant, and said, understand all our choices that we decide to make, we're servants to them. And I thought, I am not a servant to these pills. And I said, it's time to suffer. And I went through the nights of not sleeping. Like for 5 nights, I don't think I slept because my body, and then
Wean it out of your system.
I had agita. They gave me agita. I
Yeah.
couldn't. So it was. So Rex just said, I spoke with him. Turns out Rex is a huge boxing fan. He knew all about me before. And then the little kid in me said, you're one of my favorite shooters of all time. You're like Steph Curry type shooter. And then I said, we're having some events on the island, and he lives in Kentucky. He said, I'll come out for whatever you want to help. So I said, first thing I need, Rex, see if and he's an NBA legend. Or for a shooter, an NBA great for shooters, all-time shooters. I said, we're doing this event on the 3rd, where we have this party van of Fit 40. We're going to take youth on the island that are battling addiction, have them bring a guardian. We're going to bring 15 of them, and it's a stock van, and we're taking them over to Breezy Point. I have another friend who found out about what we're doing with these boxing clinics, and that I came out of retirement just to box one more time so I could donate that to an organization named Big Vision that helps young adults live a sober life, and then bring the media attention to New York or wherever, or the boxing world about what's happening here with this opiate addiction. And if you go onto Google, there are tons of articles that were followed, and on YouTube some videos, because of we had some success with that plan I had, the same plan I had with raising money for paralysis and having the endurance to put myself through it. So with these boys, my friend called me up, his brother, he said he's been in recovery for 5 years. He found out about what I was doing when I was coming out of retirement, and he said that I offer free, I'm part of a company, we teach free surfing lessons on Breezy Point. If you get a group together, we'll give it for free. And I said, wait a minute, we've had this van because my dear brother Steve Feinberg bid on this van in 2013 at the Team Fight to Walk Gala, that's my nonprofit with Kristen.
Yeah.
And we haven't used it. So I said, Steve, I got the thing for us to use it for. And then my other friend, because of, I've been fortunate with being an athlete and what I've been fighting for, that a lot of celebrities or influential people have taken to me. So my buddy works high up in the Yankees, and I said, I want to bring the kids over to give them a tour of the stadium. Can we do this? And he said, oh, get back to me this week, and it should be a yes, and it should be easy. And if it happens to fall through there, I'm going to ask Herb Williams if maybe we can go for where the Liberty play the Garden, and bring him on in, because he's a good buddy of mine, New York Knicks
Herb Williams.
legend. Yeah.
Back up to Patrick Ewing.
Yeah. And then I was just speaking on the phone, crossing the bridge over here. I was speaking, remember Odessa Turner from?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just talking to him on the phone, and he said, Boyd, I'm there for whatever you want. So he's going to come
it's all
August
falling
3rd.
into place.
Right, and he's going to play in
Yeah.
So on August 4th at the Staten Island Yankee Stadium, we're having an event. It's called Heroes vs. Legends, where you have soldiers who have been injured in combat on one team, and the other team is all celebrity athletes or just celebrities, and it's a charity softball game. They invited me 2 years ago to come and play. I had the best time, and I earned my stripes. They let me play on the team with the soldiers because I'm still in the reserve still, but they invited me to be on for the other team. But with the other team, they let me play there, and I came in shorts, and I slid into home to beat out a play, and cherry burned, and I popped up, and the blood was coming down.
I've had that before.
And I did it, and since I'm an officer, officers usually aren't that type in their eyes that will do that. And they were all enlisted sergeants, former, when they were in the military. So I slid in, and I beat, he's insane. So I popped up, and then they just came rushing out of the dugout. Sir,
I love you.
Yeah, hugging, and I had the
You're
blood
one of
on
us.
coming down. Yep, that was it.
That's awesome.
To-
You have a special clip that you already created, and
I
really-
didn't create that. The Army Reserve Public Affairs, the
Well,
United States Army Public.
Let me tell you something, man. When you first showed it to me, it touched my heart because it literally gave us a better understanding of who you are and why you do what you do. And so if you can give the viewers a 60-second setup to what this clip is about, I think that would be tremendous, because we really want to make sure that the people understand that Boyd Melson is here on Staten Island, but he's here for a reason. And I love partnering with you, and I know that we're gonna do some great things together, and I'm sure many other organizations are gonna do that with you also.
It's going to catch up, and I'm never stopping with you. I'm your
But
soldier.
I want to take advantage of this opportunity right now to not only have this created and put it on YouTube and everything else, but to get to know who you are and what you've been doing, so that people understand who Boyd Melson is, and what is he doing here in Staten Island, and why we should work together. And that's the most important thing, all right? So why don't you set up that video for us?
Most absolutely. Thank you, Pastor. So this video was made in 2015. It was the Army Reserve Public Affairs Office. So for the Public Affairs Office for our entire country, Army Reserve reached out to me and said they learned of my story. They want to make a mini documentary. It ended up winning, in 2015, the United States Army Video of the Year Award, and then the 2015 Department of Defense Video of the Year Award. This video chronicles my story of meeting Kristen and then making the decision for why I promised her to help find, for the rest of my life, find a cure for her to help her walk again, and how I combined boxing and took it upon myself, because I'm not a victim and I don't stand by with helplessness, to help fund this and create awareness. HBO Real Sports also covered us. They want to do a follow-up when we get FDA approval, I was told. Sports Illustrated, ESPN, and you'll get to see this. Have some tissues by you. It'll grasp your attention the moment it starts.
Amen, amen. God bless you guys. Enjoy this, and after the video is over, you're going to have a lot of credits. Get a pen and write down some information. But don't forget, this is Boyd Melson, and you're going to see us together a lot more often as we move forward here in Staten Island.
You guys are never getting rid of me with this drug fight. We're knocking it out.
Soldier speaking. Come on now. God bless you guys.
God bless you.
He's taking a lot of punches.
I was willing to risk my life in the ring for what I believed, and it was really based off a promise I made to her.
He's putting his body on the line. He's doing what he does best, on the line.
He's undeterred by anything, and he's going to fight through at all costs to win.
He's setting an example for others.
I can't wait to see what's next. The first time I ever saw him box, I asked him, "Where did you learn how to box?" And he said, "I've never boxed before." Boyd's got dynamite in both hands, and he's got as much natural boxing ability as anyone I've ever met. Boyd was a young freshman who had just completed plebe boxing. He was a plebe, a freshman at West Point. And I wondered who this young freshman was who kept hanging around and going to practice, and I never could quite get his name right.
When I ended up knocking out the captain of the boxing team, who was a senior and a firstie.
And I very quickly knew who he was.
So that's how it started.
2 new soldiers we got for Asmore?
No,
One of those.
I'm a captain in the United States Army Reserve. I'm assigned to the 1st Mobilization Support Group. I'm a plans officer right now.
So you thought you were running it for the 16 0, but you're not.
Come June 28th of this year, I'll have been in for 16 years. You know, my life changed significantly. At the end of my junior year at West Point, I was home on leave, and I went out to a dance club, and I met a young woman. She was 19, named Kristen Zaccanino, and she broke her neck when she was 10 years old in a diving accident. Kristen and I, we became a couple officially September 22nd of 2004, and we stayed together for almost 5 years. And during that time, her dream of walking again became the only thing that mattered to me in this world. And so it started a whole cascade, and I started getting involved with different circles, learning about cutting edge research. So then one of the circles we got put involved with, in touch with, was at Rutgers University. The W.M. Keck Center for Collaborative Neuroscience is run by a Dr. Wise Young. Dr. Wise Young was one of Christopher Reeve's advisors. And since '08, he had been working on his own clinical trial.
So nobody is treating long-term chronic spinal cord injury. We have found a therapy that restores walking, bowel and bladder function in such patients. More than half of our patients are walking. They can pee and poop on their own. And the data looks promising, and therefore we're proposing worldwide phase 3 trials.
So Dr. Young needed to raise funds for this trial. I needed to get FDA approval. So my whole brain started twisting. I said, so you need to raise funds. When I was an amateur, because of how I look, I stood out because I was successful. When I was an amateur, with being successful and then being mixed between black and white, being light-skinned, being Jewish, being a West Point, being an officer, I used to draw a lot of attention. So if I can do the same thing in the pros and I have a message to give out, we need to raise funds for this, same thing could happen, I believe. So that was my idea.
You know, I was shocked when he said he was going to turn pro and he's going to box to raise money. I said, come on.
And my very first purse I donated was $1,500. I'm going to keep doing this until I don't feel that calling anymore, because I need Kristen to walk, and I believe this is the best way to keep inspiring her and others.
The Lord alone holds the key to set you free. Just come to Him and believe. And the Lord says, "Captives be free. Just come to me. I'll break those chains that hold you down, like a freedom you've never known. When the Lord calls you His own, captives be free. Just come to me. I'll break those chains.